When I was younger, travel was not my thing. Travel involved long car rides with siblings fighting in the back seat. Travel involved old relatives that you hardly remembered saying, "Look how much you've grown." For me, the best part of family vacations was usually the hotel pool, so I never understood what people meant when they said they had the travel bug. So when I got to college and everyone started talking excitedly about studying abroad, I knew that experience wasn't for me. I was perfectly content to stay in one town all 4 years and continue my education in the same place. However, I knew that many people were really looking forward to their study abroad experience. I was attending St. Louis University, which actually has a second campus in Madrid, Spain. The school makes it easy to study at the Madrid campus, so I knew a lot of students who were planning to study abroad. In the spring of my sophomore year, my friends were all applying to study in Madrid for the fall semester. 3 of my close friends said to me, "Hey, you should come with us and we can all live together in Spain." And on a whim, I said, "Okay." Travel had never been my thing, but after making a spontaneous decision, I was going to test it out and see how I liked it. I applied to the Madrid campus and started saving money for a semester abroad. Finally, August came, and it was time to hop on a plane and cross an ocean. I managed to pack 4 months' worth of clothes into one suitcase and a carry-on. I met my friends at the airport, because naturally we had coordinated our plane tickets, and we were off for an adventure abroad. After a very long flight, we made it to Madrid, and had the startling realization that none of us spoke great Spanish after a long conversation with a taxi driver in which we just repeated our host family's address over and over with different pronunciations and inflections of the voice until he understood. We were in for a long semester. Even though I had gotten into this adventure without being crazy about travel, traveling became one of the biggest parts of my abroad experience. My roommates and I were able to travel to several different countries around Europe, and I enjoyed the experience way more than I thought I would. It was amazing to see all the different countries and get a small taste of their culture. We went on 7 different trips together to different cities and countries, and all our trips went smoothly. In fact, maybe because of our successful trips, I got a little overconfident in my traveling abilities. The only time I ever had any sort of travel trouble was during arguably my simplest trip, when I tried to take a short train ride to another city in Spain called Seville. When my mom was my age, she had also studied abroad in Spain, but she had studied in Seville rather than Madrid. She was really excited when I told her about my plans to study abroad in Spain, and she decided to visit me in Madrid, and maybe also make a trip back to Seville to visit her old host family. When she arrived in Madrid, I had a great time showing her around the city. We explored a few places that I hadn't found time to visit yet, like the Prado Museum and the Royal Palace. I got to take her to one of my favorite places in Madrid, Retiro Park. We walked around the park, admiring the flowers and all the beauty of nature, and then we rented a little rowboat and rowed around the small lake for a while. After the park, I took my mom home to meet my host family, and they got along splendidly. Mom was still pretty fluent in Spanish from her time spent abroad, and all 3 parents chattered away throughout dinner. It was a perfect day. The next day was the day we planned on visiting Seville. We had bought our train tickets ahead of time, and the plan was that Mom would take an earlier train, meet up with her old friend Maria Jose, visit her old campus, and then she and her friend would meet me at the train station when I arrived on a later train after my classes were done. The first part of the plan went smoothly. Mom hopped on the train to Seville, and I attended my class. After my class, I had a little bit of time to kill before catching my train, so I sat and chatted with friends, and then eventually made my way to the underground metro station that would take me to the larger train station, where I would catch the high-speed train to Seville. Unfortunately, here's where it all fell apart. I was overconfident in my traveling skills, and I underestimated how long it would take the metro to get to the train station. My metro journey involved a line transfer, and I checked my watch anxiously as it got closer and closer to 3 o'clock, and I still had not arrived at the train station. When the metro finally arrived, I jumped out of the doors and raced through the building to where the high-speed trains were boarding. My heart sank as I skidded to a halt in front of a window overlooking the train platform, and my train was nowhere to be found. I had arrived at 3:01 and missed my train. My heart and my brain raced. My mom would be waiting for me at the train station in Seville, and I wouldn't be there. I ran to the information counter and tried to make my brain come up with Spanish words. I managed to say, "El ave a Sevilla a las tres," which was not a complete sentence in Spanish or English, and translated to, "The train to Seville at 3?" Fortunately, the woman behind the counter understood from the ticket I was waving at her and the anxious expression on my face that I had missed my train. She took pity on me and switched my ticket for free to the next train to Seville, which would depart in an hour. I breathed a sigh of relief, until I realized that my mom would still be waiting for me to arrive on the 3 o'clock train. What would she think when I didn't arrive? How was I going to get the message to her? My iPhone didn't work in Spain, so before I left the US, I had gotten a cheap Spanish phone for emergencies. I had given the phone to my mom before she left for Seville, just in case. I'm not sure what my thought process for that was, because still, only one of us had a working phone. Suddenly, I remembered that payphones exist. I ran back up to the information desk and asked if there was a telephone that I could use. The woman, who had been so helpful before, blew me off. She said something to the effect of, "We don't have those here." I was crushed. That had been my one good idea. I started pacing around the train station, hoping it would help me think of a solution, when out of the corner of my eye, I saw a payphone. I ran to it, read the Spanish instructions as best I could, put in money, and typed in the number to my Spanish phone. Nothing happened. I pushed more buttons. Nothing happened. Again, I was crushed. My mom was going to be so worried about me. But wait! Maybe there was Wi-Fi at the train station that I could use. I pulled out my iPhone and searched for a Wi-Fi signal. Finally, I got a lucky break. There was a restaurant inside the train station that offered free Wi-Fi. In a stroke of resourceful genius, I used the Wi-Fi to send a Facebook message to a friend on campus and told her that I was stranded at the train station. I knew this friend had a cheap phone like mine that worked in Spain, so I asked if she would do me a huge favor and send a text to my Spanish phone with a message for my mom. I sat in the train station, still feeling incredibly anxious as I waited for my friend to message me back. What if she wasn't online? What if she had left campus and no longer had a Wi-Fi signal? But after a couple of minutes, my phone vibrated, and a huge sense of relief swept through my entire body. My message had gotten through, and my dilemma was finally solved. I did manage to catch the train on my second try, and a short while later I arrived in Seville. I got off the train feeling a little sheepish that I had missed my train and kind of messed up our plans, but mostly relieved that I was still able to spend time with my mom and meet her good friend. Since I had arrived later than planned, my mom had gone ahead and visited her old host parents without me. However, I still got to meet my mom's dear friend, Maria Jose, and her son, Javier, who was 14 years old and approximately 7 feet tall. We all had a great dinner together at a restaurant near the train station, and Mom and Maria Jose reminisced about their college days in Seville. Pretty soon, it was time to catch the train back to Madrid. This time, with Mom's help, I did not miss the train. Even though I missed my original train and my time in Seville was short, it was really meaningful. I got to meet someone very important to my mom and see a little bit of the city where she had spent a good deal of time when she was my age. It was a great experience to be able to share with her. I even learned a valuable lesson from this crazy adventure. Never let one mishap ruin your entire experience. If I had given up when I missed my first train, I never would have met Maria Jose, or learned how resourceful I can be. I now know that overconfidence in your travel abilities is not necessarily a good thing, and when traveling, it is always better to arrive early than to arrive late. So even though this trip didn't go exactly as planned, I wouldn't trade my experiences for anything.